Good evening, Dhamma friends. With the wholesome blessings in mind, I would like to welcome you to today's Sutta study class. It is April. Uh, it is April 23rd, which is Saturday. So we are going to begin this evening Sutta study class to understand the Dhamma as the Buddha said, based on discourses and our discussion and the friends' contribution for the Dhamma discussion are purely based on those sutta references, so that this session would be very important for many of you to know that Buddha's word from the discourses. Let me begin the sutta study with the recitations of Namothasa 3 times in Pali and in English to respect the Buddha. It is the common way we start every Dhamma activities, because the Buddha was the teacher who understood everything of his own and delivered it to us for our benefit, so that our respect should go to the Buddha for our benefit, not for the Buddha himself. So let me recite the noble recitation, and may this session be a very important time for you to understand the Dhamma. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends, as you know, we are discussing Maharahulovada Sutta, the Sutta number 62 of Majjhima Nikaya. Today's discussion on this particular sutta would be the second one. We started the discussion on this sutta last week. We were able to finish the halfway through, and we are going to take the rest of the discourse today for our benefits. If I give you a summarized version of what we discussed last week, it would help for those friends who joined today for the first time and understand what exactly we discuss in the sutta as the first part. Venerable Rahula and also Venerable Sariputta, along with the Buddha, are the characters of the discourse. The sutta name is as Maharahulovada Sutta because the focal point of the discourse goes to Venerable Rahula, because he was the one who asked the questions from the Buddha about the way to practice Anapanasati in the way it brings the great fruit, great benefit. So we see in the sutta that Venerable Rahula was going behind the Buddha while the Buddha was going on Pindapata. Then Buddha turned around and said to Venerable Rahula that practicing meditation on 5 aggregates of clinging would be very beneficial, and it helps one to let go of ego mind, the attachment to 5 aggregates of clinging. So after the Buddha explained to this Venerable Rahula, he thought that I am one who got the instruction from the Buddha directly, and many people in the world are not lucky like me, so that what the Buddha implied in this short instruction but very powerful is for me to stay and meditate. That's how we got the point. And he did not went on Pindapata, but sat under a tree there and started meditation on possibly what the Buddha said. Then Venerable Sariputta was going somewhere through that area where Venerable Rahula was meditating. Then he said that practice meditation on in and out breathing, Anapanasati, and it helps one to be peaceful at all, and it's a complete meditation. Then Venerable Rahula was in a state of little bit confusion on how to practice Anapanasati meditation. So having instructed by the Buddha and Venerable Sariputta, Venerable Rahula was still meditating until the time comes to meet the Buddha. So in the evening after meditation in the midday, Venerable Rahula went to the Buddha and asked the question, how and which way I could practice meditation on in breath and out breath in a meaningful way, in the fruitful way. Then the Buddha explained the procedure for Anapanasati Sutta, Anapanasati meditation. Actually, we didn't find this important instruction for Anapanasati in other discourses, even Anapanasati Sutta. But here we find that one needs to prepare for Anapanasati by doing some other preparatory meditation. For me, whole instruction before Anapanasati section of the Rahula Sutta are very important meditation subjects. They are very powerful. If you read the Sutta, you can see that Buddha asked Venerable Rahula to practice the necessary things on 5 aggregates of clinging. It means to me that Venerable Rahula was considered one of the wise bhikkhus at the time. According to the commentary, it is said that Venerable Rahula was 18 years old when the Buddha delivered this discourse to Venerable Rahula. So he would be very wise and experienced enough to understand the very powerful, very central teachings of the Buddha. We know from the other readings that the Buddha talks about those deep teaching to someone who has already done something in the sasana, in the teaching. So then we found those 5 important meditation on elements, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, and Akasa. So Buddha asked Venerable Rahula to compare the internal and external elements equally. And if you reflect on internal and external elements as not mine, me and myself, you are not going to react positively or negatively on any feeling that you come across, that arise in your body and mind, which is very important. So by doing those preparatory meditations, such as meditation on elements, you are going to cut off a huge part of ego, huge part of attachment, because you slowly train your mind to be away from attachment. Attachment is like a huge waves of craving. So when you stop huge waves, you cannot do it at once. You have to have some plan and time, and slowly you weaken the sources of waves, sources of negative things, so that you would be able to stop the waves at last with the gradual training. So with the mindfulness on elements, you can do it. Then we move on to other meditation subject. In numbers, I found it's close to more than 15, including those elements meditation. Buddha clearly said they are practicing loving kindness is important. When we practice loving kindness, we are going to stop anger, ill will, vyapada in a greater extent. Direct antidote for those negative emotions should be practiced to prepare our mind for insight meditation. and developing compassion and also sympathetic joy, what we call mudita and upekka are there. After that, we find the meditation on asubha. We consider this body is unattractive because the parts of the body are not really permanent, and they are experiencing decay, and changing is always there in those body parts, so that you cannot keep those body parts attractive always. So then we find meditation on impermanence. See, here the meditation on impermanence is being practiced as a preparatory meditation. In Girimananda Sutta, we find this with regard to the 5 aggregates of clinging, and we do not have much information here on what level we practice anicca sanya, but basically anicca sanya is everything. Anicca sanya is about everything. You understand that everything is uncertain, impermanence, anicca, on everything. So it could be a short form of momentary meditation, I would say, so that you always keep your mind on the theory of anicca. So having done all these meditation, time to time you do them, so that you are qualified to take the road to the full practice of Anapanasati. The significant implication we can remember here is that Anapanasati meditation is a complete menu for enlightenment, and it cannot be practiced by someone who enters to the order recently. Newcomers need some preparations for such a deep meditation. Why do we say this? Because the Anapanasati meditation is known as the Tathagatayana, Brahmayana, and what else? There are some, important words the Buddha used for Anapanasati. Tathagata Ranjita. The Tathagata, the Buddha, stays in Anapan, it stays in concentration developed through Anapanasati when he is not doing any activity such as sermon, instruction, walking and standing and doing his own personal thing. Whenever the Buddha, found some time, free time, he does this meditation, because the concentration, Samadhi, one achieves through Anapanasati, he said, is strong. So, Brahmayanang itipi, all the Arahants live on mindfulness of breathing, not every time, but the Arahant's way is called Anapanasati. So having said this important statement by the Buddha, what he was trying to say is that this meditation is really, really important. It covers every aspect of the 37 factors of enlightenment. It teaches us how to regulate our mind on necessary conditions. Mind is being conditioned by practicing Anapanasati into highest extent. Step by step practice is always there, so that practicing Anapanasati according to Anapanasati Sutta completes the four foundation of mindfulness and the Noble Eightfold Path, then the 7 factors of enlightenment, and the qualities of Nirvana are achieved there, Vijja Vimutti. So Nirvana is possible for anyone and everyone who practice Anapanasati, as the Buddha said. I think this is why the Buddha wanted us to understand these preparatory meditation are important for everyone. Have you seen that one person is giving such a number of meditation techniques? Here, Venerable Rahula was asked to practice those mindfulness on elements and metta, karuna, mudita, upekka, not just like concept, but as meditation, directing his mind to destroy the total opposite of those wonderful qualities. and practicing Asubha, practicing Anicca Sanya are some powerful meditation. So Buddha asked Venerable Rahula to be eminent on these meditation subjects before he take the Anapanasati. Because the question he asked was how I could practice Anapanasati with all the elements of it. So this is the way it is. I think, I don't know whether you follow the same instruction for enlightenment. Even without such a complete practices, you can go into nirvana. We don't see other monks do the same thing. But when you do the complete training, the possibility is there for you to help each and everyone. I think the Buddha considered that this is my son, and I want him to be a very prominent monk in the sasana by understanding everything. I don't say that the Buddha disregard others and regarded only his son in teaching the Dhamma, but I assume that he wanted Venerable Rahula to understand everything, because the Buddha's intention is to educate many people as he could, and giving such Dhamma elements to his son would be a way to spread it more and more. And by this time, Venerable Rahula was considered one of the important monks in the sasana, with his discipline and also being able to advise, and many other things were there in the Venerable Rahula's character, so that Buddha delivered it well, of course, in details, so that I'm very confident with this teaching that it is applicable to all of us. Why? Because cutting off of craving could not be done by one without such experiences. Suppose we need some training on anger. When we are angry, we need some training how to overcome it. So if we have done metta meditation into a considerable extent, we know what exactly we need to do with the anger. Even after a couple of minutes later, with some effort, you get mindfulness on loving kindness, the importance of it, and try your best to overcome it. And other meditation as taught here are very important too. You regard some major unwholesome qualities in your mind and take it out, erase it from your mind before you take the meditation into Samadhi. And now we move on to Anapanasati steps, because it is very important for us. And I would say that teaching on Anapanasati is not that easy, because it's a very widespread, deep teaching, and at the same time, it could be very complicated sometimes, because everyone has experienced it in different ways with different guidance, so that one understand one thing and the other person understand another thing, so that we all must be able to get through with the instruction and do it. And when you read Anapanasati, discourses, you understand it well. But when you go to practice it, the thing you experience would be totally different from, because the meditation is deep, and what you experience is not that easy to handle sometimes. So that teaching about Anapanasati, as the Buddha said, is not easy. And by explaining the Anapanasati step, I don't think we can cover 100% of it, but we all know what we are saying, and try our best to understand what Anapanasati based on this discourse. So now, having explained these preparatory meditation, here they are they are playing as preparatory meditation. Though we find them as full meditation techniques in other discourses, before Anapanasati, they have to be done as preparatory meditation. Then when the Buddha said here, how is mindfulness of in and out breathing developed and pursued so as to be of great fruit, of great benefit? So this is the case, a monk or nun or lay person, anyone, having gone to the forest, the shade of a tree, or to an empty building, sit down, folding his legs crosswise, holding his body erect, and setting mindfulness to the fore, always mindful he breathes in and mindful he breathes out. So we all know that the Buddha has prescribed these three places for meditation unto enlightenment: Aranyagatuva, Rukkamulagatuva, Sunyagaragatuva. Why do we see these three places are important? Because they are devoid of human interactions and activities, so that the one who goes there can find external support for meditation. So your sanya is not distorted by those external inputs, so that only thing you need to work out is with your internal behavior, internal experience. In other words, whatever your mind produces could be addressed, and the support from outside is always destined there. So sit down, folding his legs crosswise. We don't see that the Buddha or any eminent enlightened bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and lay people taught anyone to meditate on Anapanasati in standing posture, lying down posture, or walking posture. But today, some teachers, teach this Anapanasati with walking posture too. With the Sutta, it is not prescribed by the Buddha. With the commentary, we don't see it, but some eminent monks do it, maybe expecting something very important. But based on Anapanasati, we cannot say that it is true. Anyway, sitting posture is the perfect posture for many meditation, according to our experience, because your physical body is being asked to take one type of posture without any movement, so that you easily focus onto what you want, right? So with walking and standing and lying down, you may be having some difficulties in real focus, right? So sitting posture in many ways is good for any techniques of meditation. Here with Anapanasati is the perfect posture, because you have to keep your body upright, and then the breathing system works well. Here we have doctors, they might explain well how our body support when we keep it in a balanced way, for especially breathing cycle and then the blood circulation, so that your mind can concentrate on the invisible breathing. Of course, we have to have a very good mind to feel that sensation of the breath at the nostril, so that you have to get the support of the body for that. So that is addressed here, holding his body erect and setting mindfulness to the fore. Actually, Parimukang Sating has been defined by many scholars in different ways, but I would like to hear from you about what you think. Basically, the prominent focus is mindfulness. That is what it said. Some people say that Parimukha means in front of the face, could be, depending on people's. Anyhow, your primary focus or attention is to the breathing. That is what it means. So some who followed Burmese tradition focus the belly, and some says the tip of the nose, some says the tip of the edge of the lips, depending on the situation of individuals nose, and it could be different. Anyway, We do not want to hang on those things that Buddha did not pay too much attention. But the very important thing is paying attention to the breath continuously. Here it is said, always mindful, he breathes in, mindful, he breathes out. Does this mean that we have zero mindfulness before the meditation, or we have some mindfulness, some sati before this anapanasati meditation? So, sato asasati, sato pasasati. The one who start the meditation on breath has some mindfulness developed prior to these steps of anapanasati. That's why Buddha said you should, you may, or you need to do loving kindness meditation, mudita meditation, meditation on karuna and upekka, asubha, anicca sanya, and 5 elements. So understanding the aggregates into a certain extent helps you become mindful on your body and mind to get you into anapanasati. Didn't the Buddha say that before this anapanasati? Yes, it means to me that you have mindfulness set on your body, on your sensation of the breath, and then you begin the step of anapanasati. Right? So it shows again that the anapanasati meditation is deep, because you cannot do it at once you sit down on a cushion. We instruct people to watch in breath and out breath, then you release your pressure and tension, which is working. But it is not the full form of anapanasati. We can take some section of anapanasati to overcome certain unwholesome experiences. For example, if you go to doctor and you're afraid of injection, and doctor is going to inject you something, some medicine. So doctor might ask you, just breathe in and breathe out. Just pay attention to your breath. Yes, we can use it for making the situation favorable for you, so that your mind is not distracted and can be done those activities perfectly. But it's not anapanasati. Anapanasati is always to reduce the craving and bringing your mind into samadhi. You can see samadhi in steps over here. And then making your mind ready for understanding all the Dhamma elements as the way the training completes the 4 foundation of mindfulness and 7 factors of enlightenment and other important elements of the Dhamma. So anapanasati should be a very set training that one can do with a particular time period and posture. The way we breathe in, breathe out for overcoming certain things would be very useful in achieving mundane purposes as well as getting into supramundane experience. But anapanasati, it's not a complete anapanasati. So having set mindfulness now on in and out breathing, at this point the meditator understand what in-breath and what out-breath, because he or she sees in-breath and out-breath. Now when you look at the in-breath and out-breath with clear awareness, with clear mindfulness, so you see the long in-breath and you are in tune to see it, you see it, just like the gatekeeper who look at each and everyone who enters and enters to the house or city, or those people who go out for. So he see, or these people see every bit of information of those people. Like that, we set our awareness or mindfulness over the breathing, so that we have enough patience there to see the changes of the breathing. Oh, it's long in breath, long out breath, compared to the previous experience, compared to the experience you already got. This is long. And after a while, according to the sutta, you see the short in-breath and out-breath as well. We do not value these, the length of the breath too much. What exactly it means? Your mindfulness has been developed and advanced. That's why you see the differences of the breathing. Digang vasa santo, digang asa samiti pajanati in Pali, and rasang vasa santo, and digang va pasasanto and rasang va pasasanto. These are the four steps of the Anapanasati, and you come across them in the Satipatthana discourse as well. Then we have, I breathe in sensitive to the entire body. He trains himself. I breathe out sensitive to the entire body. He trained himself. So now you are sensitive to your body, entire body. Sabbakaya patisangvedi, asa sissamiti sikkati, passa sissamiti sikkati. The question is, what is this sabbakaya? So some people say that this is the body from here to here, across. And some people say it as the breathing. You know, earlier you were mindful on long in-breath and out-breath, and then short in-breath and out-breath. It implies that you are mindful of one breath at a time, and then when you refine or advance your mindfulness, you can see the both. So that when you come to the third step, you are mindful of both in-breath and out-breath exactly as they are. That's why we call sabba. The word sabba means every, or entire, or all, something like that. So kaya means, in the Dhamma presentation, we use kaya for this body as well as the breath itself. Kaisankar. The word Kaisankar means whatever the body condition is called Kaisankar. The body is conditioned by the breath. According to that definition, Kaya could be used for in-breath and out-breath. So, Sabba Kaya Patisangvedi. The explanation would be legitimate with that explanation, that the Sabba Kaya means being able to be mindful of each breath, but cycle. So it means, in other words, that you see the in-breath and as well as out-breath. According to Satipatthana, Samudaya Dhammanupassiva, Vaya Dhammanupassiva, Samudaya Vaya Dhammanupassiva, Ajjatta Bahidda. So you are going to know a whole yard of everything, you know, there. So you are mindful of in-breath and out-breath. Not only that, rising of in-breath is visible, and passing away of in-breath is visible, and a rising of out-breath is visible, and passing away of out-breath also visible. And then there is another in-breath and so forth. So when you continue to have this training, it does mean that you are mindful of the physical body as well. So if you want to say how you keep your body, you can see the body from top to bottom of it without any issue. But is that what we focus there? No, the prominent focus is still breathing, that the in-breath and out-breath. So I think the closest meaning for Sabbakaya is the breath. So you are sensitive to the entire breathing cycle, along with the awareness of the breath, awareness of the body, physical body. Anyway, it's a matter of discussion. So then we come to the fourth step of the first tetra, that is, I will breathe in calming bodily fabrication. He trains himself. I will breathe out calming bodily fabrication. Passam bayang, the very Pali word we use for calming bodily fabrication. So Pasambayam Kaya Sankara. Here we use the word Kaya Sankara. With this Kaya Sankara, right after Sabbakaya Patisangvedi shows that the body breath is mean in there in the third steps. Right? So here Pasambayam Kaya Sankara. Now you see the subtle changes of the in-breath and out-breath, because you see both together. You are able to see both in-breath and out-breath without any issue, so that you see the uh, you know uh, changing of in-breath. In other words, the gross part of the breathing is gone, and now your in-breath and out-breath are so smooth and sensitive, so that the feeling you have is so much so that you are undisturbed now in a certain way. So when you pass these four tetra, the first tetra with four steps, in my understanding, you are in the jhanic experience, because your mind doesn't go anywhere now. It is being settled to the meditation subject, the in and out breathing, and no hindrances. If there were any hindrance to attack to your mind, you cannot see the subtle changes of the in-breath and out-breath, and your attention is broken, shattered, but nothing is happening with the first tetra here, because you are fully mindful, so that you are in the first jhana. So it indicates when you go to the second tetra, he trained himself, I breathe insensitive to rapture. Piti patisangvedi asa sissami iti sikkati. Piti patisangvedi passa sissami iti sikkati. Where do we find piti, rapture? It's a first jhana quality. Savitakkan, savicharan, vivekajang, piti sukhang patamajjanang upasampajja viharati. In Pali it says, with sustained and applying thought, with the and rapture, pleasure, and one-pointedness is there, along with the sustained and applying thought. That is called first jhana. So how do you have piti here? Because you have already entered into jhana with the previous steps. So now your prominent focus is shifting from breath to rapture. You can see this subtle change of the meditation on in and out breathing meditation. You know that the in-breath and out-breath are taking place in the background of the mind. At the same time, your prominent focus is going towards rapture now. So I will breathe in sensitive to rapture. He trains himself. So he breathed in and he breathed out, but with sensitive to rapture. It means you are working on rapture now, piti. Right? Isn't this showing that piti bojjhanga is also developing? Yes, it is there. Piti bojjhanga has started to arise. And then, so it happens when you breathe in and out. And then when I breathe in sensitive to pleasure, sukha patisangvedi, piti patisangvedi, sukha patisangvedi. Asa sissami iti sikkati, passa sissami sikkati. So pleasure, when your mind is having this rapture, piti, you feel that happiness or pleasure in both body and mind, which is gorgeous, which is pleasant, so that you are mindful about it while you say the in-breath and out-breath. How could a human mind does these things simultaneously? Because friends, turn into the Noble Eightfold Path. When you come to this level of Anapanasati meditation, the capacity of your mind has been broadened, so that Samadhi is developed, Samma Sati is developed, Samma Vayam is also there, and Samma Samadhi is also manifesting, so that the capacity of your mind to see certain things at the same time could happen. That's why you see the breath, and also prominent focus goes to goes to rapture and pleasure and so forth. So without clear mindfulness, you cannot do it. I would say this because at times we experience that peacefulness and calmness. We hear the telephone ringing and people are talking. At the same time, we can watch our mind as well without any disturbance. Why? Because your mind is being controlled. Your mind is being trained to be here with your mind itself, so that the hearing of those noises doesn't make any sense. Of course, you can remember people's talking and what they talk. At the same time, your mind is prominently working on what you experience. So we have experienced that. So now piti and sukha, while you are breathing in and out. And now we come to another point. I will breathe in sensitive to mental fabrication. Vachi sankara. It is said uh, uh, I will breathe in sensitive to mental fabrication. He trained himself, I will breathe out sensitive to mental fabrication. So when in-breath and out-breath takes place, your mind goes to those sankara, mental fabrications. So our mind is conditioned by sankara. They are called vachi sankara. So pasambayang chitta sankara. Chitta sankara patisangvedi asasissami iti sikkati, pasasissami sikkati, pasambayang chitta sankarang. Whatever the mind is fabricated are being noticed well, so that you are stepping on to a very important step of this meditation. So this second tetra, we haven't gone to the last one of the second tetra yet, but I can say that this is about feeling. Piti is a feeling, and sukha is about the happiness and joyful state of body and mind. It's also a feeling, and now you are having that strong awareness, wisdom on feeling, so that the Vedananupassana is being practiced on the other side of your mind with this with this level of Anapanasati. With the first tetra, Kayanupassana is being practiced and completed, and here Vedananupassana is being practiced. And then we go to the last one of the second tetra. I breathe in calming mental fabrication. I breathe out calming mental fabrication. So you can see that you calm down the mental fabrication as well. So I think if you look at the second jhanic experiences, avitakkang avicharang vivekajang samadhijang pitisukang dutiyang jhanang upasampajya viharati. So when you reach to the second jhana, you let go of vitakka vichara, and without vitakka vichara, your mind is being associating samma samadhi very clearly. In the first jhana, you have it, but the level of the jhanic experiences is much higher in the second jhana than the first one. With vitakka vichara, you still have thoughts. You still think about the experience you have. For example, with vitakka vichara, you have questions about piti sukha ekaggata. You of course surround it, and you have been having so many thoughts about piti sukha ekaggata. But when you reach to second jhana, you are not going to working on vitakka vichara anymore, because samadhi has been developed very much, so that the level of samadhi is being higher, and the other important qualities such as samma samadhi and of course upekka has been knocking the door very much, so that we see this calming mental down in the last step of second tetra. So now we go to the third one. Actually, as I said, Anapanasati is a very widespread, very deep Dhamma fact, which can explain many things. But here we do not go for that, since we need some time to discuss those questions and other important points of Dhamma as our friends has. So I quickly go to the third one. In the third tetra, how many single step we already fast? 8. So in one tetra we have 4, and we have gone through go through all the second tetra, first tetra and second. And that means we have been we have discussed 8 steps. So the 9th step of Anapanasati is about mind. The third tetra is about Chittanupassana. I will breathe in sensitive to the mind. So the meditator who practice Anapanasati has now come to know about his mind, which is very important, because overall, the entire teaching of the Buddha is to know what mind says, what mind decides, what mind does, and how mind acts. So the training on Anapanasati in this level is very important, because you are going to see the mind from your mind. I'll breathe insensitive to the mind. Chitta patisangvedi asa sissami iti sikkati. The very word patisangvedi in Pali is much rich than any other words. Patisangvedi means you are getting closer, you are there, and you see it. No doubts about it, you have it, something like that. So chitta patisangvedi, sensitive to your mind, you breathe in and out, and then I will breathe. Yeah, so now you are knowing about your mind, and you see that the mind sees the breath, the mind sees the body, the mind sees the feeling. When you see your mind, it's just like you go to the mirror, and in front of the mirror you are physically in person standing there, and the way you wave your hands and the way you speak, the way you look at is visible for you. It's a very awkward situation. Something like that happened. You see yourself. Seeing your mind as it is means seeing you as it is. So in the second step of the third tetra, he trained his mind as this. I will breathe in satisfying the mind. So abhippamodayan citta. Now your mind doesn't have any problem at all with hindrances. Of course, hindrances were gone well before this, so that your mind is in niramisa piti. Piti rapture is called niramisa piti. So enjoying the moment doesn't harm any at all, because your mind is in the kusala, is in the samadhi, is in samadhi. So that satisfying your mind, you do it while you breathe in and out. We are not saying that this is a permanent state, but it could change with strong attack from hindrances and craving. But at the same time, this is not the sensual pleasure we talk about in seeing, hearing, and tasting. This is way beyond it, so that it is better, it is okay for you to satisfy your mind. Abhippamodayan citta. Technically, your mind is happy. Technically, your mind is joyful, so that you see it while you breathe in and breathe out. That's what it means. And the third tetra, I will breathe in, steadying the mind. Samahitang cittang. This is kind of addressing the steady mind, means your mind is steady on samadhi now. your mind is in samadhi, so it's unshakable, so that you steady it. It's just like you make suppose you tie a huge dog in a post. Earlier you were unable to, because the strength of the dog is so much so that you cannot drag, but however you manage to control the dog and tie. So now you are done it. So it's so windy now, you cannot put those clothes in the rope outside, but somehow you manage to put the wet cloth in the rope and you stick those clothes, so that you are you are certain that they are not going with the wind. Something like that. You feel that you feel your mind is in samadhi, and you see it, so that you make possible steps. You take possible step to strengthen your samadhi. So samahitang chitta, the same thing. Then we have the fourth tetra of the third one. I will breathe in, releasing the mind. Vimochang chittang asasissami sikkati. Vimochang chittang pasasissami sikkati. We talk about cheto vimutti. It means that you temporarily take your mind out of troubles by using the mental capacities. First jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and then sphere of space and consciousness, nothingness, and so on. Based on these mental experiences, you take your mind out from normal average settings. So that's why we call them releasing our mind based on those mental experiences. So vimochya chittang, you are releasing your mind from even those happy state now. Why do we say this? Because on the after this step you have anicca-anupassi asasissami, which means you see the impermanence of your mind, impermanence of your piti, rapture, and the happy, glad, satisfied mind, and so on. So here you are taking your mind out of these boundaries, because in the next step what you experience is anicca. So based on Paticca each step is explained by the Buddha. It does not because Buddha wanted to do so, but it is the reality. So the Buddha explained the reality there. So when you release your mind, so you are heading towards seeing the impermanence. So the third tetra is talking about Chittanupasana. So whatever arises in mind is noticed well, and there you develop that awareness of the mind to be able to step onto the higher training now. So in the fourth tetra, we find I will breathe in, focusing on inconstancy, impermanence, in other words, or anicca. So anicca anupassi asasissami sikkati, anicca anupassi pasasissami. You see the impermanence of your breath, impermanence on the feelings, impermanence on the pleasure, and type of very refined understanding has come to you now, so that you see this, you evaluate that, analyze that this breath, this whole mental and physical phenomena are impermanent. Samudaya dhammanupassi, vaya dhammanupassi are seen, and udaya vaya is seen here. So then I breathe in, focusing on viraga, dispassion. So whenever you see impermanence on anything, your mind doesn't go with that any after all, because you see the breaking points, so that you do not want to hang on to. Raga is not happening there. You do not have anything to attach there. In other words, you are not hanging on around, because you see the fleeting nature of whatever you see. So that right after anicca, you see viraga, dispassion, not the passion. So when you see viraga, immediately or together with that, you see nirodha, cessation, because if there is nothing happening like attachment or craving or anything like that, there is nothing to arise. When there is nothing to arise, there is no anything to enjoy there or anything to hang on. So cessation is the whole word we use for that particular mindset, nirodha. Then while still you feel the breath, still you feel the in-breath and out-breath, because your mindfulness along with wisdom have been developed very much, so that the capacity of your mind is there to see subtle changes of your mind. So you are not disturbed by those so-called sound, telephones, people talking, the horns of the vehicles, and the sounds that come from wind, and also elephants. You are undisturbed by. The nature support you now if you are meditating in the forest. If you are meditating in the busy area, still you are undisturbed by because you have cut off your physical senses. The presence of your mind with the physical senses is being cut off into a greater extent, because you are working heavily and deeply with the deepest phases of your mind. So viraga and nirodha are visible with regard to what you experience. Therefore, you further go on the steps. I'll breathe in, focusing on relinquishing. I'll breathe relinquishment, and I'll breathe out, focusing on relinquishment. It means patinisagganupasse, you are inclined to nirvana. Whenever you experience anicca, viraga, nirodha, you experience nothing but nirvana. I won't say that. I don't say that you are in complete nirvana, but you are tasting it. Because with the Anapanasati Sutta, with this practice of the four tetra, you have been immediately completing the four foundation of mindfulness, and there you have the manifestation of now 7 factors of enlightenment. So you are knocking the door of nirvana, not with sotapanna, not with sakadagami, but with either anagami or full enlightened, because your practice is so powerful. You may not be taking rest on sotapanna or sakadagami, because your practice is so powerful to reach to those last 2 levels of enlightenment. So that is the fourth tetra of Anapanasati. So we have been completing the 16 big steps of Anapanasati. If we divide into single, we have 32, but we basically take this Anapanasati as 16. Here, in any discourse where Anapanasati steps are explained, we can see these 4 tetra very clearly. And what are these Dhamma that the 4th tetra address? That is Dhammanupassana of the Satipatthana. In Dhammanupassana of Satipatthana, we have 5 hindrances, 5 aggregates, 6 senses, then 7 the upadana, we call it 5 aggregate, then 7 factors of enlightenment, then the 4 noble truths. These are the 5 major categories we have in Dhammanupassana. So you are addressing those things with the 4 tetra. So now we come to the end of the discourse. This, Rahula, is how mindfulness of in and out breathing is developed and pursued so as to be of great fruit and great benefit. When mindfulness of in and out breathing is developed in this way, even one's final in-breath and out-breath are known as they cease, not unknown. So it means to me that you are not dying without knowing your last breath, which means you cannot die as a normal person. You would die as an enlightened person. That's what it means. This is what the Buddha said, gratified when Venerable Rahula delighted in the Buddha's word. So that's the end of Maharahuluvada Sutta, friends. So now I want you to speak your understanding, and I know that many of you are very good in explaining Dhamma, so that you can take times. Dr. Pial has raised his hand, so please take your time.
This is an interesting sutta, Bhante, because I think Buddha, this is my speculative idea of this, why these elements of insight Buddha described before the Anapanasati. So obviously, I'm sure Rahula, Venerable Rahula has practiced Anapanasati to some extent, but he has not complete all the fruits. So to bring about all the fruits, this is emphasizing this, how to get to the fruits of the Anapanasati. You need some elements of insight to be taught as you say, preparatory. Or perhaps maybe this is combining Samatha Pubbagga Vipassana, Vipassana Pubbagga Samatha, or Yugananda. Maybe he's trying to teach him both at the same time. Otherwise, you may get stuck in a where pleasant abidings here and now, or the jhanas after the second tetra, you are in jhanas, but you're not completely gone to the third and the fourth tetra, which is the insight is developed. So by introducing these elements, these impermanence early on, because at the end you also end up in contemplating impermanence, even Anapanasati coming that way. So maybe he's trying to combine both so that you get the full benefit of the Anapanasati all the way to release. Maybe that may be why this particular case, they're talking about these different elements of insight injecting into this sutra. Does it make sense?
Yeah, indeed. What you said is really true and makes sense, because I haven't thought about it before. Yes, Samatha Pubbangama Samadhi, Vipassana Pubbangama Samatha, Yuganada are included here in this way of practice Anapanasati, because with the mindfulness on 4 elements and Brahma Vihara practices and Asubha Sanya, Anicca Sanya, you have taken some experience on training your mind onto Samadhi and also Vipassana. So I think, as you said, in Yugananda Sutta, we have first 3 steps are being really practiced with this technique. So it makes sense, definitely, because at some point of Anapanasati, we see just steps to develop Samadhi, which means Samatha, Pubbangama, Vipassana. First, you take time to, calm down your mind without thinking too much of those elements of Dhamma in your mind. So once you get into the perfect mental state, you then take those deep elements to focus. So at some point, we see those Vipassana directly, so seeing the impermanence and also calming down your fabrications are part of Vipassana. So it's a mixture of both Samatha and Vipassana, as you say, which is very nice to see. So Samatha meditation, Anapanasati meditation is therefore is both Samatha and also Vipassana meditation together. At the end, that's what we can see. When we come to practical level, we need to ask the question from ourselves whether we go through all these steps when we practice Anapanasati meditation. Because Anapanasati practices, if you participate in weekly basis, is only for 1 hour or 1.5 hours. These programs are really good, and I appreciate that. I also do it with people. But I have this doubt that whether we can practice each step of Anapanasati, because it's so fast facing.
But
that's why I think
the experience is first, and then if you look back, this is like the map, right? Oh, this is where I have passed. This is Because so, and if you go by, this is the first step, the second step, the fourth step, like if you go like a theoretically, it's kind of hard, but it's like a more reflection of all the signposts you have passed through. Then you can say, that's what I felt, or that's what I felt. So the steps are being kind of brought live upon you at that stage with experience, right? But otherwise, it just becomes a theory, just 16 steps. You just kind of memorize the 16 steps. It doesn't really make too much sense to me. It's, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's good to have that guide as a sutra, but obviously practice, then you can go back and check. I felt Priti Sukha. Oh, this is where the tetra, this is the second tetra, I mean, right now, kind of thing, I don't know.
I agree with that. When you have experience with all this, I would say, preparatory meditation, you can easily go through the first couple of steps, and I would say within 5 to 10 minutes, you can experience the other tetra as well. And as you said, those experienced meditators can feel those chittanupasanas, and also Vedananupasana based on Anapanasati in a short period of time. So depending on your skills on Anapanasati, the level you practice would be different. The starting point would also be different. So there are some monks and lay people who practice Anapanasati very elegantly and quickly, so that they reach all these steps very quickly. In discourses where the Buddha talks about Samma Samadhi, if you practice Samma Samadhi quite often, you can get it quickly. Akiccalabi, Akasiralabi, Nikamalabi hoti. You get into Samadhi without doing too much, because Akiccalabi. So you have done it before, so that you know the path of it. You can go it quickly. And if you do know the path of the place you want to go, you are looking at signposts, and you are looking at maps, and you are looking at various statements, and so the time you get to go there would be much than those people who know the path and go. So Akiccalabi, Nika Akasiralabi. So some people should work on Itipiso, Supatipanno, Swakato, and Sila, and they remember Dan, and they remember the talks on the Dhamma on particular subject of meditation, and take time to settle down and practice meditation on Anapanasati. But the persons who practice Anapanasati and also other important Dhamma elements do not want to do such things. They, without too much work, they get into Anapanasati and also the Samadhi from Anapanasati. Nikamala Vihod means it means that you are getting Samadhi through Anapanasati very quickly. So I say what you said is right. So you can begin your Anapanasati meditation very quickly, and you don't want that much time to stay with the in-breath and out-breath and long and short and those fabrications. So you quickly get into Chittanupasana, or you perhaps take these mental state as aggregates very quickly. So no matter which meditation you practice, either Anapanasati or any other, at the end, what you have to take is Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So when you come to Aniccanupassi, of course, the sutta never indicate that you take breath as breath to see anicca, because you have already done that. What you see there is Rupa, Vedana. Vedana by name, Piti, rapture is always there. You focus it. So you see the impermanence of Vedana. You see the impermanence of happy mind, which means you see the impermanence of perception and Sankara. Sankara means nothing but the mental state there. So, yeah, in elaboration on what you said, yes, experienced meditators decide where they focus and what they focus on Anapanasati. in the first couple of minutes, they would be working with the breath, and they use the breath as a raft there to get to cross over the normal average mind. Now you are in a super state where you can see the 5 aggregates. So what you said is very nice, and I get a question in the chatting box. It's from Derek. Let me read it. Could you explain the portion on the third tetra that discusses releasing the mind further? Thank you. Yes, Vimochang Chettang Asasissami Sikkati, Vimochang Chettang Pasasissami Sikkati. Before seeing the impermanence of all these mental things, you see the fleeting nature of your mind. So in other words, you see your mind is released, could be released based on the experience on body, the breath as well as physical, the feeling, piti, rapture, and so forth, and then abhipamodhyang samadhi. So now you have experience on your body, feeling, and also mind, so that it would be easy for you to elevate your mind from those levels into see in the real nature. So vimochang means always releasing your mind. You are taking mind from that. It's a kind of shifting your mind to another level where you can see the impermanence. So with regard to Keto Vimutti, I was saying that there are 9 stages of Keto Vimutti. First jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and 4 arupa jhanas, and the Sanya Vedetta Nirodha. So these are the 9 ways of releasing your mind. So it means you take your mind out based on that particular samadhi. For example, first jhana. So you achieve it through right effort, right wisdom, and mindfulness. Based on these 3 of the Noble Eightfold Path, you achieve first jhana. Then based on first jhana, you, in other words, push those 5 hindrances, and now you are developing something ahead. So once you are in first jhana, the next target would be for you is the second jhana. It could be seeing anicca, dukkha, and anatta, and taking you into palanyana, the fruition. But there are basically the closest target would be the second jhana. So you release your mind from first jhanic experiences based on it to see something greater than what you are in. So that's why I understand releasing vimochang chittang. So you are releasing your mind to another level, because you see the mind is also an object of impermanence. In other words, you see the mind itself, chitta patisangvedi, and the abhipamodhyang, samajahanchita. So you have been working on mind with regard to what mind is constructed for a certain period of time, so that you do not want to, you are not anymore, you are not working anymore on those mental states, so you see the impermanence of your mind. So that's what I think this releasing the mind further explain, if you want. And let's read about it further and just think about it. Basically, very important thing is to meditate on these steps, or meditate on. Sometime people get confused with this kind of discussion about Anapanasati. So my simple suggestion for you is, don't think about too much of these steps. When you sit for Anapanasati, clear your mind from whatever you did and what you are going to do also after meditation, and simply sit down and try your best to simplify your mind, make it simple. And it's okay to keep in mind those steps in your honor, because you cannot forget them if you read them before, if you discuss about them before. But simply begin and then step by step train your mind to be there with the long in breath, short in breath, and whatever comes after that, and so on. Go like that, so that you would be experiencing. So that's what I can tell you as a suggestions. If you have complications on Anapanasati, as Dr. Pia said, memorizing the steps doesn't make any sense if you do not know how to meditate on that. And if you know the way to do it, that is the marvelous and excellent thing you can do, right? So that's what we want to do. That's what Buddha expected from Venerable Rahula, and also all disciples at that time and even today. So that is the questions for today. And if there is anyone who would like to ask something else on Anapanasati, please take time. It's 9:16 now, and we can give you 5 minutes or 6 minutes further. So I think Anapanasati is deep. It when you explain it, you find its depth, and perhaps with theory you cannot go. You cannot do much, but with practice and theory you can do many things on it. Anyone? If you do not have anything to share, I would end today's session. It's 9:17 now. I would begin another session in 1 hour time with some friends from Sri Lanka. So I would say that this session is really good for me to go to that session. The Dhamma we discuss here encouraged me to think about more on certain things I was working. So thank you very much for giving such opportunity. Discussing the Dhamma for our benefits is always a blessing for us, and in that we develop those kusala that are necessary for our mental cultivation, and I am indebted to you for that. So that's the end of today's Sutta studies. Next week, I haven't thought about a particular discourse yet, because there is something that I want to share with you. That is my travel plan. I would be going to the US on Monday for more than 1 week. That is for visiting venerable monks and some of my friends in different places in the US. I think I am pretty okay with everything in the evening time. If so, I can do the Sutta discussion from where I will be. If I do not send you a notification about the Sutta discussion by Saturday morning, you may think that I won't be doing it, because if I don't get chance to send you email, how could I do the Sutta study class? So I don't know what happened with the internet facility, because I would be in Bhavana Monastery for 2.5 days, and then after I would be traveling from place to place. So for the moment, it's uncertain, but I'm hopeful because I like Dhamma discussion. I like Sutta discussion, so that I never forget to have this Sutta discussion. I will be returning to temple on May 3rd, and after 4 days, I will be going to Sri Lanka for 1.5 months, and after 3 days in Sri Lanka, I will be going to Malaysia for 1 week. There I have some programs. So in Sri Lanka, those who know about Sri Lanka will understand the situation. So the chances of having internet would be okay, but I'm doubtful. Anyway, if I have the chance to do Sutta discussion, I will do, definitely. But you may engage with other Dhamma discussion and read Dhamma during this period if I may not be able to conduct the Sutta discussion. And that's how we need to work on. So I explain my travel plan for you because you are a very good friend of mine and many people here, and the support you have been giving me in explaining them for other people and also for my benefits is huge, and it is appreciated. And may you all be well, happy and peaceful with that kind of blessings from your own activities, and may you be able to complete your training on Anapanasati or whatever in this very life, and may you attain Nirvana. That's the end of today's Sutta discussion. Thank you very much once again.